Today I'm going to show you how to make a really cute pair of sunflower earrings that would be perfect for summer or the fall time. So in this video you'll see me using UV resin and yellow mica powder. It's in the shade golden, and I'm taking it and putting it in this clear mold, which I thought would set, and it was an experiment. But unfortunately, it didn't set as much as I wanted it to. So if you're going to replicate this process, I would highly recommend to use epoxy resin just for the yellow part. So you wouldn't even need, because what we're going to be doing for this project is covering up the middle part with dried flowers, so you won't even need to put that black part in. This was just from a previous project that I was finishing. So you can fill that whole entire mold full of yellow epoxy resin and let it set overnight, and then continue the rest of this process. Please learn from my mistake. Don't try to use this mold with UV resin. It did not work. So go ahead and fill all of the molds with yellow completely, and then we'll continue on to the next step the next day after you have set your resin. Just make sure it gets into all the corners and you have a flat back right along the edge of your mold. And once that is filled up, just hurry up and use your lighter to go ahead and get all the bubbles out. So the next day, once you have your resin set, you're going to take some dried flowers of any kind and just crush them up into little pieces and dip them in the UV resin and fill all the middles of your flowers up with those dried flowers. That's going to give it some really nice texture and kind of make it look more realistic compared to if you just use the mold and it's like a flat, boring look. So this gives it more texture, and I think it's more appealing to look at. I use some brown, orangey looking flowers, but you can pick whatever you want that you would want to put in the middle, or any flowers that you have that you think would look good with the yellow color. And then you are going to use, since you used UV resin with those flowers, go ahead and set that with the UV light. To put the backs on, we have this you can turn it into a dangle earring or a necklace, but we're going to be doing dangle earrings in this video, and this is how I'm going to add them to the backs. Just a little dot of UV resin, and you set that on there. And then to make it flush with the back of your earring, I'm kind of holding it at an angle so that it'll lay flat, and then you put the UV light on it and it'll set it, and then you cover the rest of the back with UV resin and move it around to the edges with your toothpick. And that's going to make sure that doesn't go anywhere. It's going to stay on when you're wearing it. It's not going to fall off. And you'll just gently push it to the edges and put it under the UV light again. And out of all the earrings I've made, doing it this process, this way, I've never had a back fall off one of my earrings. So you take some UV resin. I have a pack of the backs for studs, and this is the biggest stud back that I have in the pack, just because this is a bit of a bigger earring. So you take your UV resin, you put the stud back on, and you put it under the UV light, and do the same thing you did with the other earring. You just cover the rest of it on top and to the edges with UV resin. And when you're using the UV light, at the very end, I would recommend you set them on each side for another 2 to 3 minutes, just to make sure all the resin is completely cured. And then once you're done with that part, you can just take your earring cards and stick your studs in there. And also with these particular earring cards, I just use my full size and I cut it a little less than half to make it just a single stud card. And then you'll use a jump ring and an earring hook on your dangle earrings, and it's easier to use 2 pliers to put those together. And you'll do that for each of your dangle earrings. And it makes a beautiful sunflower earring that has a little bit of texture to it. And for those, I have a huge thing of these clear backs, so I just add those on there. And that's the backs I like to use personally. I don't like the metal ones, but You can do your preference. And then these dangles, I'm going to add them on the full-size cards. And all these materials, I will link them in my description of my video. Here's how they turned out. I think they turned out really cute. Next time I would definitely use epoxy resin for the yellow, so please learn from my mistake. I have a lot more videos on my channel, so please check them out. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe.